Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and those who still believe that our choices matter. It is I, Aleister Crowley III, Deputy of Common Sense, and your wake-up call for today. All of you need to wake up and smell the bullshit that politicians have been feeding to you all this time. That's the topic of today's video. If you'd like a more detailed explanation, you'll just have to stick around. Welcome to the Endless Waltz. May I have this dance?
There is nothing wrong with your browser. Do not attempt to refresh the page. We are now controlling all that you see and hear. We control the horizontal and the vertical. We can delude you with 1,000 videos or expand one single frame to crystal clarity and beyond. We can shape your vision to anything our imagination can design. We shall control all that you perceive until we see fit to release you. You are about to experience the depths of depravity that reach from the folly of human pursuits to the Deputy of Common Sense. Please stand by.
On the subject of voting, I'd like to say this. Number 1, I voted for Trump in the general election. Number 2, I voted for Bernie in the primary. Yes, I am a liberal, and yes, I voted for Trump. I did so because Hillary was a pile of shit. Don't get me wrong, when Bernie lost I was sad, but his loss wasn't why I voted for Trump. I didn't vote for Trump. I voted against Hillary. Why? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because she's a two-faced, lying, power-hungry, corrupt pile of crap that needed to be kept as far away from the Oval Office as humanly possible? And thinking back, I would do it again. If she had done the exact same things and won against any other Democratic candidate, then I would repeat the same decision. Why? Well, that's simple. I care more about the character and policies of a presidential candidate than about some petty us versus them mentality. And not a single bit of that has changed. Don't get me wrong, Trump is just as bad as Hillary, but there's one thing that sets them apart. Trump may appear to be a menace because he's a loud, obnoxious, double-digit IQ douchebag, but like every other loud, obnoxious, double-digit IQ douchebag, he is only a threat when he has intelligent people to do his thinking for him. In addition, he is a high-functioning psychopath. So I was fully aware going into this that he would be completely unable to maintain good relationships with the intelligent people he would depend on to keep the whole thing from crashing down around his head. Now, on the other hand, Hillary is equally vile, loathsome, and repugnant, but she actually has a few brains in her head. Smart evil is far more dangerous and destructive than stupid evil. You know the Nazis? Of course you do. They're the vilest human beings in human history. Our country fought bravely to defend the Jewish people against the tyranny of the Nazis, and we released innocent people from the grip of oppression. Or so we'd like to think. That doesn't sound quite right to me. Let me revise my statement. World War II began in 1939, and we did not enter the war until 1941. It took us 2 fucking years to decide that we cared about the genocide of innocent people, and it required an attack on us before we deigned to intervene. We would never have entered World War II if the Japanese hadn't so conveniently decided to bomb us. We didn't care. But Britain? France? The Soviet Union? They'd been fighting the Nazis for 2 years. But we couldn't be bothered. Genocide didn't matter to us. At least not unless it affected us personally. Now that's pretty bad, right? That kind of puts cracks all over our neatly crafted idea of American exceptionalism. Well, you just sit tight. After this, you're gonna discover that nobody is exceptional. Not America, and not anybody else. What if I told you that we did something worse? Much worse. That's not possible, is it? Well, sit tight. Class is in session, kiddies, and Teach has some knowledge to lay on you. After the war, we invited Nazi scientists into our country to improve our technology. 1,600 of them. Yeah, we let 1,600 Nazi war criminals go free so long as they shared their nice technology with us. And it gets worse. What if I told you that the moon landing was only possible with the help of Nazi rocket scientists, engineers, and physicists? What if I told you that Werner von Braun was the chief architect of the Saturn V landing vehicle, the device that got us to the moon? Wait, what's that? You don't know who that is? Oh, of course not. It's not like anybody picks up a history book nowadays. And no, Bill O'Reilly's books are not history books. Read something by actual historians and not partisan hacks. But nonetheless, I don't have time to wait for you to go read a goddamn book. Do it on your own time, not mine. For now, I will explain that Werner von Braun was a former member of the SS. And before he so conveniently helped us go to the moon, he designed the V-2 rockets, which took the lives of countless Allied soldiers. Yeah, the same man who helped us get to the moon was a deathmonger. But America didn't care about that. We did what we always do. We saw people suffering, and we made a profit off of it. Oh, and what if I told you that Werner von Braun spent the rest of his days living in peace because our government cared more about advancing our military power than punishing war criminals? Yeah, that's exactly what heroes do. They profit off the suffering of others. Didn't you know that? Pick up a book. All of that is pretty horrifying, right? Now, we couldn't have done anything worse during World War II, right? Wrong! You have no idea how deep this rabbit hole goes. What if I told you that we created our own concentration camps? What if I told you that we imprisoned 120,000 American citizens in death camps because of their nationality? Nah. That simply can't be true. Our government would never do anything like that, right? I must be making shit up, right? Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Wait, no I don't. So let's really crank things into high gear. We locked up our own citizens because they were Japanese. And 2,000 people died because of it. 1.5 out of every 120 people died in the internment camps. That might not sound like much, but the fact remains that we violated our own constitution simply because the Japanese poked us with a metaphorical stick. We profiteered from the deeds of war criminals, and we ignored the suffering of others until it affected us personally. I think I can almost hear the dying screams of damned souls. Yeah, heroes, us, don't make me laugh. And yet some of you still cite World War II as some great example of American heroism. Spare me. We're selfish. We're egomaniacal. We're power hungry. We're greedy. We are warmongering. And we are cowards. And you know what? We always have been. Me? Be proud of that? Never. Me? Have a sense of patriotism? Don't make me laugh. not for all the wealth, power, fame, and knowledge on earth. Yeah, I'm not proud to be here. And if you want to complain and say I'm unpatriotic, good. That's a compliment to me. Go ahead, call me unpatriotic. I don't care. My point still stands. My point is that those in power got away with this because they were smart. They were examples of smart evil. Richard Nixon, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump, they are examples of stupid evil. Hillary is an example of smart evil. You might argue that she ran a bad campaign, but to be honest, her only mistake was not campaigning in the Rust Belt states. Anything else was just ordinary politician bullshit. If Julian Assange had not leaked his information, I think that Hillary would be in the White House at this very moment. It required the intervention of a massive hacktivist organization to sabotage her chances. And no, Russia was not involved. That's bullshit. Hillary is not stupid. And those who write her off as a crazy lunatic with less brains than your average squirrel are making a fatal mistake. And those of you who are sitting there saying, well, but Hillary would have been better, are making a worse mistake. Hillary would have been much the same as Trump is, and also much different. But both the similarities and the deviations come from the worst parts of their natures. Hillary would have lied. She would have licked the boots of Wall Street. She would have licked the boots of big business. She would have created dangerous foreign policies. She would have instigated unnecessary wars in the Middle East. And she would have further increased NSA spying in our country. The only difference is that none of us would know about it. The first thing she would have done after being sworn in was do everything in her power to silence Julian Assange. And look, Trump is doing the exact same thing. It just took him a little longer. Hillary would have done it right away. We have spent the last 3 years sniping at each other over meaningless arguments. And in the end, we have learned nothing. People are still lamenting the loss of Hillary, or Bernie in some cases. But I'll tell you what, if Hillary were in office, we'd be blissfully unaware of her attempts to silence whistleblowers because she's not dumb enough to advertise her corruption on Twitter. And in my book, that's bad. So yeah, I voted Trump. I made a calculated decision, and I'm proud of it. I don't care what you left-wing ideologues have to say. Fuck you people. To quote an up-and-coming British politician, I'm not apologizing for anything, you dirty, dirty smear merchants. Everything this country has become reeks of an Orwellian future. And to be honest, I just want the whole thing to burn. Now let me tell you who I'm voting for in 2020. In the primary, I'm voting for Andrew Yang or Tulsi Gabbard. If anybody else wins, I'm voting Trump again. The rest of them are garbage, pure and utter trash. And you know what? The benefit of having Trump as president is that I get plenty of fodder for my channel from both the left and the right. That's a win in my book. Public outrage is a political pundit's dream. So no matter what, I get to sit back, laugh, and say, I told you so. Trump is a political commentator's dream come true. Trump can win. I don't care. I'm not really offended by anything he says. And to be honest, I don't see anybody who's going to beat him. And no matter what, I win. The outrage of the ongoing culture war is my ticket to the big time. That may sound self-serving, but you've got to understand that none of this matters to me. I know that no matter what I do, the result will remain the same. I know that Trump will be out of office in 2024 anyway. And then the pendulum will swing back to the left. Then it'll swing to the right. Then back to the left. Don't you get it? Don't you have any brains? Haven't any of you noticed that American politics seem to oscillate between Democrats and Republicans at a consistently steady rate? We haven't had more than 3 wins by either party in close to 100 years. People get tired of Republicans. Then they vote for Democrats. Then vice versa. Republicans call Democrats commies and snowflakes. Democrats call Republicans Nazis and fascists. Nothing changes. The cycle continues. And none of you are better than its instigators. It just goes on and on and on, ad nauseum, and nothing ever changes. The endless waltz plays on. We continue dancing to the 3 monotonous beats of herd mentality, ostracism, and violence. And you know what? I think we'll be doing it until our country lies in ruins. And nobody will care. The world will just go on without us. But you know what? They'll continue making the same mistakes that we did, until they too are nothing but ashes. Nothing we do will change things. We are alone and powerless. No politician is willing to work with the other side because that is political suicide. And so our leaders continue to politically cannibalize each other, and ordinary citizens suffer because of it. This is how it has always been. This is how it'll always be. This is the ugly truth behind the face of our so-called superior species. And you know what? I think the writers of the Bible knew this, but I also think that they lacked the proper tools to understand it. So they called their discovery original sin. But the truth is, original sin isn't something supernatural. It's merely herd mentality combined with individualism that in turn creates ostracism followed by oppression and violence. This has been true since the dawn of mankind. We can't work together because that would mean we'd have to view opposing opinions as equal to our own. And not a single political ideology, religion, philosophy, or civilization throughout the entire history of mankind has ever been willing to do that. Our choices are meaningless. They always have been, and they always will be. So I choose to make the only possible real choice, and that is not to choose. Apathy is my salvation, and my damnation. It rescues my mind from insanity, but in return for this boon, I am damned by the world at large for not following herd A, B, and C, etc. But what else can I do? The alternative is unthinkable. This is the only possible real choice. For me, that's enough. I've thought a great deal about human nature, and I think that out of every single idea that has ever been created, Agent Smith got it right. If I were to create a metaphor for the purpose of describing my thoughts on mankind as a whole, it would be this. When one spots a cockroach skittering upon one's kitchen floor, does one stop to consider it a fool? Does one greet the cockroach and ask the insect how it spent its day? Does one send out food for the small creature to sate the hunger within its belly? Does one provide it with a soft pillow upon which it can rest its tiny head? Or does one crush the still struggling insect beneath one's boot with a look of disgust upon one's face, and then mop up the slimy remains with a rag that will simply be disposed of in the morning? And when one extinguishes the life from this being that scuttled upon the kitchen floor only moments before, does one imagine how the family of this cockroach will survive without their beloved father? Does one feel pity for the infant cockroaches that will go hungry without their provider? Of course not. That's just ridiculous. All of these thoughts are so far beyond human psychology that we do not even consider that a cockroach is anything but a pox upon our domiciles. We have no sympathy for the insignificant cockroach. Why is this? Well, it all boils down to the simple fact that a cockroach is a lesser being. It is an inferior species. The feelings of a cockroach are of no consequence to us. It is so far beneath us on an evolutionary scale that it barely qualifies as a living being. To us, it's a nuisance. It befouls our food. It defecates in our houses. It triggers bothersome allergies that make us miserable. And it breeds, which creates a dreadful infestation that we then must eliminate. A cockroach is a pernicious household pest. And that's how I view mankind. You are beneath me. You are lower forms of life. I don't really even think of myself as human. I don't think like you. I don't behave like you. I don't react like you. So exactly how am I still human? The fact is that every problem in our society is caused by ideas. In particular, bad ideas. These bad ideas are parasitic worms that we greedily gobble up. We willingly consume these foul, scabrous ideas, and once these cancerous thoughts have slithered into our brains, they burrow deep, deep into our mental fortresses, where they feed upon our emotions while expelling vast quantities of ideological excrement that seeps into our rationality and putrefies our thoughts until they are covered in vile, fetid, gangrenous pseudo-intellectual ideas. These ideas are an infestation of termites that gnaw upon the foundation of our societies, devouring more and more and more until the entire structure is compromised and it crumbles under its own weight, leaving nothing but a dusty pile of rubble. These ideas are hungry swarms of pestilential locusts that feed upon the bountiful crops that this world has to offer until an idea so horrible is created that we end up going extinct. And the source of all these ideas is mankind. Mankind is an infestation. You add nothing to this world. I don't think that you are in fact mammals at all. All mammals have an innate biological drive to coexist with each other and their environment. Now that I think about it, you are not a parasite, nor are you termites or locusts. Your sole reason for existence seems to be based on infesting a society, feeding upon everything in your path, and then converting others into your ideological doppelgangers, which then poisons the hapless fools you lead astray. And once you've replicated your ideological matrix, you simply move on to the next host. There is another organism that shares these traits. Do you know what it is? It's a virus. You are a disease, a cancer of this planet. You are a plague, and extinction is the cure. Of course, all of you are just sitting there utterly confused because this narrative doesn't fit into a neatly prepackaged ideology. Well, you know what? I don't care. We live in a plastic world of plastic people with plastic lives. Everything about our societies is manufactured and sold as a product. And that is something that should scare everybody. But no, nobody is even slightly afraid. Not a single one of you humans is afraid. But I'm scared. I'm terrified. Not you, though. All of you go about your business like nothing's wrong. You watch your manufactured reality TV, you eat your processed food, you go to your chosen hive with all the other worker bees, and then you get up the next morning and do it all over again. You are bought and paid for by this gigantic machine we call a society. All of you. Every single one of you. And what does this society give us in return for our servitude? In our society, freedom is pushed aside for security, hard work is pushed aside for instant gratification, experience is pushed aside for convenience, and all the while, the people that own you, lock, stock, and barrel, are laughing their way to the bank, while your family can barely make ends meet. And whenever something goes wrong, whenever battles are fought, These men and women, the people in power, they are not the ones who fight to defend the institutions which allow them to sit comfortably in their chairs while telling us how to live. No, not them. Never them. The people who fight for us are the downtrodden and the disenfranchised. They are kids. They are kids who want a college degree so they can feed their families. They are kids who want a good job so they can care for their parents who are now entering their twilight years. We send kids to war. Boys barely old enough to fight, and certainly not old enough to know what they're fighting for. Boys who had their entire lives before them, but will now be haunted by the blood upon their hands and the screams of dying soldiers. Boys who will see their friends be torn apart by gunfire, be dismembered and left behind, or be blown to pieces by explosions. Your sons, and now even your daughters, will relive those experiences over and over every night until the day they die. Why? Because they have no choice. They have no choice but to join. Because they're poor. When the rich wage war, it's the poor who die. The rich tell us to fight for our freedom. What they mean is to fight for their freedom. And while people die in distant war-torn countries, these greedy fat cats sit back and laugh as they pop another spoonful of caviar into their fat mouths. Our politicians are bought and paid for by these people. They traded the bravery of soldiers for political power, and now they wield their might towards greater fortune. We put countless men and women in their graves for these weaklings. This current regime defiles their memories. The perpetual greed of the wealthy elites desecrates the graves of those who died so we could live in peace and harmony. And barely anyone thinks about it. Barely anyone cares. Nobody even wants to think about it. And meanwhile, your sons and your daughters march to their deaths. But you don't stop them. You just sit back in your chairs and you pray that you don't get that knock at the door. Well, since you're so fond of prayer, let me quote a little scripture to you. The Lord is slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love, forgiving iniquity and transgression. But he will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and the fourth generation. Numbers 14:18. You know what? You are guilty. If I were you, I'd pray really hard that a God is up there to forgive you. It's about the only salvation you deserve. Yeah, an eternity licking the boots of a despot seems to be a fitting punishment for those who allowed such misery to befall their children. In any case, God may forgive you, but I won't. As far as I'm concerned, you and your children are murderers. If there remains any justice in this world, then maybe a lake of fire is what awaits you after death. But there is no justice in this world. There is no God. The only fate that lies beyond death is the cold dirt of the grave and the ceaseless hunger of crawling maggots. That is what awaits us. All of us. Take a good look at the world around you. Time flies and the reaper waits for no one. You'll meet him soon enough. It's only a matter of time. And those of you who dream of a peaceful world, oh, you poor deluded souls, let me open your eyes to the truth. In this world, no peace can exist. Peace is a false prophet. Peace is a lie. It's a nice idea, but like a lot of nice ideas, it simply isn't realistic. Human nature is what makes peace impossible. Our greed, our selfishness, our sense of self-entitlement, these are just a few of the barriers to peace. Humans always look out for themselves first. Our proclivity towards herd mentality, regardless of whether the herd is doing the right thing, will kill us. Our penchant for corruption, violence, and cruelty will kill us. And once you combine all of these traits, the truth is revealed. And the truth is that peace was nothing but a futile dream. It was dead before it was even thought of. The problem here isn't the concept of peace. It's a nice idea, but it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because the problem is humanity. Humans poison everything they touch. We are a walking plague. We poison our planet. We poison our government. We poison our knowledge. We poison our morality. We infect everything we can lay our grubby little paws on with our toxicity. So of course, peace will always fail, because greedy, self-serving humans will always find a way to exploit good ideas for their own gain. This is the way it is. This is the way it has always been. And this is the way it will be long after everyone currently living on this planet passes into the void. As I said earlier, the Bible preaches original sin. I think they were onto something with that idea, but I think they were deeply mistaken as to what that idea really is. Original sin wasn't caused by God. Original sin is merely the human proclivity towards self-destruction. In my eyes, the tree of knowledge is a representation of sapience. We ate of its fruit, and then we understood the difference between good and evil. Or rather, we gained the ability to be self-aware. And from the day we acquired the capacity to properly comprehend the world around us, we were damned. This is how evil was created. And there is definitely a seed of evil present in the human condition. We corrupt what we desire. We pervert what we love. We destroy what we create. We ostracize what is different. We cannibalize what is the same. We usurp what is powerful. And yet we arrogantly display our unfounded and overblown sense of superiority for all to see. But we are not superior. We aren't even close. We are the empty devils. We are sick, but we don't know it. But I know it. I have always known about the rot that eats at the human soul. I know all about the festering disease that will one day swallow us all whole. We will never make it off this planet. We will never make it to the stars. We will die here. We will die all by ourselves, helpless and alone. I don't even know why you care so much. You should have realized this would be the result from the start. You'll continue marching towards your inevitable end without even questioning once whether the path you are on is indeed the correct one. You'll keep marching forward until you march right off a cliff, like a pack of mindless lemons, like dim-witted lambs led to a slaughter. If you accept one thing in this life, it's the inevitability of despair and entropy. We will vanish one day, and when we disappear, when we vanish into the vast cosmic dark, what will be our legacy? Smartphones and social media that have created a superficial culture of narcissism and isolation? Food that is so heavily processed that it can barely be called food anymore? A politicized cognitive dissonance that results in a series of echo chambers where the mere idea of a dissenting opinion reduces us to screaming toddlers? A planet that we fail to take care of even though the methods for doing so have been obvious for over half a century? What do we have to show for all our trials and tribulations? What do we have to leave behind so that other life forms in the universe will know that we even existed? And of the things we have, which ones will show those other life forms the better angels of our nature? When I think about everything I've said here, nihilism becomes more and more palatable. If there is a God out there, He isn't guiding our hands with the loving touch of a father. If there is a God, he abandoned us a long time ago. And we are all still clinging to the faint hope that he might come back and save us. Well, guess what? Nobody is coming. No one is coming to save us from ourselves. If we don't make it count here, on this speck of dust, then we will vanish, and no one will ever know, and no one will ever care. And I think that's what scares me the most. What about you? Are you afraid? There is no one coming to save you. You will die here. You will die all by yourself. Are you afraid? Well, the bad news train keeps on a-rolling. The fact is, it doesn't matter how afraid you are. There's nothing you can do to stop it. No matter what you try, the result will be the same. We are all puppets on strings. No matter how much we might wish that a good fairy would come to save us from ourselves, the truth is that we are only deluding ourselves. We placed gags on our Jiminy Crickets centuries ago, and because of this, we are going to die. No one is coming to save us. When our time comes, we will be reduced to piles of ash scattered haphazardly all over the world. Life is fleeting. If you want my advice, spend your time enjoying it. Because the day will come when the nature of mankind will be its destruction. Ambitions and cravings, vengeance and hatred, justice and fate, ignorance and escapism, they never learn. They never listen. We're reaching the end of the path. There is no way to prevent it from happening now. This is our destiny. We've led ourselves to the inevitable end. Mankind will become extinct, as they deserve. This is a world where the hearts of men are filled with hatred, where fingers have no other purpose than to pull triggers. Mankind knew exactly where they were heading when they chose to walk this path. And yet they ignored the warnings provided to them by the wise men of history. And now they are going to burn for it. Burn! There's no way the process can be stopped. Eventually, another atrocity will happen, and the cries of the victims will trigger battle anew. A day of reckoning is coming, and on this day, a choice will be laid at our feet. Which will it be? The path of wisdom or the path of ruin? Well, I'll give you my advice. Why torment yourselves? Face reality. The truth is that we are a species that should never have been allowed to exist. Just give up. I did. Well, this looks like the end. Nothing ever changes. Mankind is locked within a perpetual hell of repetition with no clear ending in sight. It almost appears as if we are spinning. Round and round the carousel goes. We sit upon our brightly colored horses as we spin on forever. But forever is a very long time. I think that eventually the carousel will break down. It will crumble into a pile of debris. In time, the debris will dissolve into rust. And a day will come when not a single memory will remain to show the inheritors of our world that we even existed in the first place. And so a once mighty species will pass silently into the void. The truth is, the game was rigged from the start. We have no future. We never did. Everything was simply a trick of the mind. Some people are still falling for this trick, and some will keep doing it forever. In any case, the result will be the same: extinction. I'm the deputy of common sense. I dispense swift justice to those who aren't so swift. Life, dreams, hope. Where do they come from, and where do they go? Why create when it will only be destroyed? Why cling to life, knowing that you have to die? None of it will have meant anything once you do. But enough about that. I shall repeat my question once more. If I may be so bold, may I have this thing?
What a pity. He died so quickly. Damn you! Well, well. I believe that is my pistol. Pocket and run! Let me savor the miseries. You lose everything you hold dear. Why? Why have you done this?
Tell me, how will you escape my justice next? Will you run to the past begging for help from the rest of your pathetic mortal herd? Or this time will you try the future? How will you compensate for your weakness now?
You. I should have seen it from the start. I'm the one who has to stop him. This is my world, my fight.
Good has to win. Evil must be driven away.
Die.
Don't you see? I'm everlasting!
You don't know who I am, but let me tell you my code. Destroy evil.
You fool! A mere servant like you has no business getting involved with the affairs of your betters!
I will destroy everything if that's what it takes! But you're gonna die! I'm sending you back to the fire where you belong! Don't you understand? I don't care! She's the only thing that matters to me!
I just have to get used to her dying. No problem at all, right, Meliodas? It's not a big deal.
No way I can do that! Well, that's reason enough for me to take you out! Suck on this, scumbag! Bastard! I will not let you destroy my world! Compared to gods, then of course we're weak! But you can never make me ashamed of that! Because when mortals do join forces, that's when we can do anything! Because believing in our fellow man and helping each other to survive, that's what redeems us! That's what makes us who we are! Makes us worthy! That's what gives us our real power!
No! You're a mere mortal!
It's not about gods and mortals! You don't believe in anything but yourself! And we won't let you win!
Impossible! No mere human's power could possibly...
There's no conflict and no wavering in my convictions now. Therefore, there's nothing I cannot pierce. You should never underestimate humans! Now die, Starbreaker!
This is the power of mortals fighting for each other! The power of believing in something bigger than just you!
Insolence! How dare you strike a god and retaliate against justice!
Try this on for size, asshole!
Transfer!
I don't give a damn about you! Or your so-called justice!
But now, it can't be!
Then I'll give up my other arm, and then my eyes if I have to.
Issei.
I'll do whatever it takes. Nothing is gonna stop me. I'll always save you. I'm your pawn after all. It's my job, right?
Let us sing a song of peace for humanity's future.
From this distant vantage point, the Earth might not seem of any particular interest. But for us, it's different. Consider again that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate or joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe, are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.
Over here, by the window.
What do you see?
Another day.
Perhaps how we face death is not as important as how we face life. To live each day with hope, with courage, and with love, as if it were our last.
Let us sing a song of peace for humanity's future.